Okay, so today we will continue building this API, right? So we already know what an API is. So what is an API? Srivatsa, can you try and answer? What is an API? Hello? Srivatsa? Or someone else? Okay. Kavya, can you try what an API is?
Sir, it's a software application which is used to exchange data, features, and functionality.
Between?
Which is used to exchange data, features, and functionality. And here,
Between whom?
database is
Okay. Okay. An API in general, it is a piece of software. It will try to connect two pieces of software, one or more pieces of software, right? So here, most of the time when we say API, it's usually called as a web API. There are lots of types of APIs. And what we are going to learn and discuss about is web API, where usually this API will analyze your request and sends you data that you have asked. It will fetch the data that you asked and sends you data. If you have sent the data that needs to be submitted to the database, it will submit it for you. Right? It's a piece of software. An API, it's nothing but a simple server program that talks to the client, anything regarding the data with the database. It will try to connect the database and the client. And you might ask, why is front end not connecting to the database directly? Why do you even need a server program? Or why do you even need a API in between? Right? It's a valid question. Okay. The thing is, um, the front end code, whatever you write, is visible to everyone, right? So the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you can definitely connect to database directly from the front end to database. But the problem is that it will be visible. The database credentials will be visible to every single one, whoever uses your website. Okay. So a company's most important thing is it uses data and it should never go public, right? So that's why we have an intermediate program which will keep database separate from the client, and it will interact with the client. It analyzes what you have asked for and it will submit that to database, get all the data it needs, or it sends data to the database as well. Clear? So our API is a simple server program which will connect to database whenever it needs to. Clear? Okay, so in what format do we exchange data in, Abhilasha?
JSON,
Yes. What is the full form of JSON?
JavaScript, object notation.
Yes, it's JavaScript object notation. Okay. And okay, sure. So let's just continue. And this was our user API application that we were trying to build, right? Here we already have imported Express. We have imported the file system. Can anybody tell me why we have imported the file system, Sharmila? Why are we
We've
using
kept
file system?
the data in the file system to interact with that. We have used it.
Yes. And I have written here that this file system thing is a core module, meaning it comes inbuilt with the node, right? Node works with the modules. It's not like everything is inside the node itself. It has everything, but in a modular way. And you can import them if you want to work with it. You cannot just start using it, but you have to import and only then work with it. Okay. Okay. So I did give you guys homework, like how to read data in an asynchronous way. So have anybody tried it? Okay, so you guys have to start uh, working on the exercises. Only if you guys do my exercises, I will be able to attend your other queries. If you're not practicing, you will not be able to ask me any queries. Okay. Okay. So lot of the things you will be able to face interviews if you practice my exercises. Okay. Like how does this file systems asynchronous thing work? How can you write a file system? Here in the post, I used asynchronous way of writing the file. How does the synchronous one work? Right? So all these things you should know. And definitely, if you go for a Node.js interview, they might ask you the difference between what is a synchronous one and what is the difference between an asynchronous one and a synchronous one. Clear? Okay, so yes, so yesterday our API could interact with two types of requests. One is a GET request with the slash users, and another one is a POST request. Our API could respond to these two things, right? So now the thing is, I'm going to write one more. Okay, so this routing basically handles get all users. That is what it is doing, right? And this is basically trying to do what? It's creating a new user. Create new user. Okay, so now I will try to do three more things. The next thing is get a single user. That's what I want to try. And then I want to update a user and finally delete a user. These are the three things that I want to do today. And you guys need to observe this carefully. And once this is done, we are basically done with our API, which can do CRUD operations. Like it could create a user, it could get all the users, it could read all the users, it could update, it could delete, right? That's what we are trying to do. Okay, so now in order to get a particular user, what do we have to do, right? So let's come back here. It's a simple get method, right? Every time you want to read value from the database or from the server, you need a data. It should always send a request with the method get type. HTTP method should be of get method, right? And then here I'm going to say users slash ID. Okay, but the thing is, ID is not a constant variable. Okay, it will constantly change, right? So for that, you have to do something called as colon ID. Okay, so this is called as parameter, a parameter inside a URL. Whenever you write anything with the colon, it is treated as a parameter. Okay, you can access that in request object with the help of parameter uh, property. Okay, so I'll just show you that later. So now this is the route. If anybody gives you users slash some kind of ID, I have mentioned colon here because it is a variable inside a URL. So it's usually called as parameter or a param. That's what we call it as. So now I will write the route handler function. So it will get request object, response object, and a function. And definitely we want the ID first, right? So if you want to know about a particular user, our API is a REST architectured API, meaning it should not remember, it should be stateless, right? So meaning the client should always send the exact details. Like if it needs a particular user data, it should always send the ID and everything. Okay, so client shouldn't remember what to send. It should always be the server should not remember anything. It should always be coming from the client, right? So now we have got an ID from here, and based on that, we need to fetch. Okay, so we already have the user's data here. From here and observe here. Um, okay, sorry. I think we don't have the ID field here, right? I think we don't have the ID field here. So we have name field. Maybe we can use that. Okay. Okay. Based on that, we can pick it up. Okay. Okay. So definitely not ID then. I can mention it as name. Okay. Okay. So now come back here. Const name. Okay. Equals to that will be present in the request. But this time I'm not going to get it from the body. Instead, this is available in the parameter. Okay, request body contains what? Usually if some client sends data, it will always be present in the request.body as you have observed here, right? Whenever someone wants to send data to your API, they will send it along with the request in the body object, sorry, body property. But if somebody sends an ID or some variable like this in the URL, it will always be present in the variable called as request dot, sorry, param. Okay, so now let's just log this once first. Maybe afterwards I can do all these things. Add this, log it. Okay, so let's just save this and let's see how this params looks like. Okay, so how do I run my program?
Start.
Yes, so first I need to be inside my application cd user API, and then it just npm start. Okay, it starts my application. Now I want to send a GET request with this particular URL. So how do I send it now?
Browser
Yes,
or
with a
localhost. And
yes, I'm going to use a particular client here, Thunder client, or you can use the Postman, right? So here I'm going to make a new request, right? So yesterday we have sent a request to users, right? A post request. So now I'm going to make a new request here. It's a GET request. And sorry. It's a GET request with the URL of 127.0.0.1 colon 3000 slash users. Now I have to mention the not the ID but the name itself, right? So let's just see some name here. Okay, let's say this is the name. This is the information that I want to access, right? So I will just mention that name here. Okay, so let's just hit send and observe what happens here. Okay, so observe here, we got a log saying a name Isabella. So this object that we have received here, this is called as the params object, right? This is passed by the express by default. Okay, so every request object by default has a property called as params, and this will always store the value of all your parameters. Okay, you can have as many parameters as you want here. Like you can say slash colon x slash colon y, whatever you want. But the thing is, you have to have them, like you cannot leave anything uh, empty. If you say name, you have to have the x value as well, like a z. You have to have like x value will be like something uh, test1, okay, and y value as test2, and then hit send, and they will be logging here. So the first value goes to the name, x is test1, y is test2. Okay, you cannot leave anything empty. Here, if you try to leave this test2 out and just try to keep this y, then you will definitely get an error, right? There will be an error. Okay, the response is an error here. Okay, so you can also make some things optional. I think by having a question mark here, you can have a question mark here, and then it will be okay, I think. I might be making a syntax error. I think it's fine. See, so I made this thing. Okay, after the parameter, if you have a question mark, it becomes optional, right? If you only have two variables like this, first one is name, it automatically skipped this and it took the third one. If you have all the three, then it will take take it for everything. Okay, it automatically takes. So you can also have a default value, like you can have a default value like equals to 10. Okay, so now it will automatically take default value if you don't give any value to it. Okay, I think I have an error here. sorry, when you have a default value, it won't be, there won't be any option for it. Wait. Okay, sorry, I might be missing syntax. You guys can look it up. Okay, this will be your homework. Okay, just a small syntax mistake. So you can also have a default value for a parameter. So homework. So default value for params. Okay. Okay, so I definitely I don't try to remember all the syntax always. It's the basic one, and something you want to tweak around, then you can always find it in internet. Okay. Okay, so let me cut all these things out, and I'm going to only keep the name here. Okay. So once you get the name, what do we do with it? Right. So let me store it first. Const name equals to, it's available in the request dot name. Okay. So now comes the JavaScript logic. Okay. So I want to send information about that particular name, a particular username, right? I need to get that first, right? So const user equals to, first of all, I'm using this Codium, so it already is giving me the information. It's very straightforward. So first, it's in the JSON form, this user data. So we are converting it to JavaScript object. From there, I'm using a find method. This entire thing is the find method. All right. Inside that, we have a function that will return the user if it finds, right? So if the user dot name equals to the name that we have received here, that's what it means. Please raise hands if you didn't understand this. I can explain again. It's just JavaScript. It's nothing related to backend program. It's find method, all the array methods that you should remember. It's find is the array method. Okay. So find is the array method, argument, and the user value of every single value here. And for every single value, it will try to check its name with the name that you have received. Okay. Anybody didn't understand this method? Okay, so maybe you, I suggest you guys to go with uh, like maybe this is again another homework, like list out all the array methods and the syntax. Okay, with an example. Because we constantly use this, I really want you guys to know about all these things. Okay. Okay, so now come back. If there is no user, we can have a guard class here. Okay, so guard classing meaning like if there is no user, if we didn't receive any user, we will simply return. Okay, we will simply return by sending a simple response, res.status. Okay, 404. Okay, if you cannot find any user with that particular name, we are simply sending a 404 status code with a JSON data as well. Okay, so status, we can mention like success, and you can give a message as well. It's up to you. Whatever you can send anything you want. User not found. Okay, observe here what I'm trying to do. If we didn't find any user, we are going to end the function. Which is the function? That is this function, route handler function. We are ending that function by sending a response with the status code of 404, also a simple JSON data as well together with that. And that data, in that data we are mentioning, sorry, it's a fail. Okay, it's a fail. And the message is, we have not found any user. Okay, user not found. Okay, but the thing is, if user is found, this will not work. If the user is found, we will simply send a different response with the status of success, which is 200, right? And the actual JSON data now here. Okay, so we can mention status saying success, and user information is the user itself. Okay, so observe here, if you don't mention return, I will tell you what happens later on. Okay, for now, we have two responses. If we don't find an user, we will send a failed response. If we do find a user, we will send a success response. Right, let's just save it and come back here. Okay, so I will close this as well. And we have removed all these things. This is just the name, right? And I'm going to hit send. So it says user not found. Isabella Rosie must be there, right? I don't know why. Okay, so let me log this. Okay, so for some reason we are getting undefined here from here. Users slash name. Sorry, I'm struggling a bit with this menu bar. Give me a minute.
Sir, after the name, do we have to give backslash here and the get?
The request,
Yeah, yeah.
I think this doesn't matter actually. Mm, request.name. I think it's not just request.name, it's request.params.name. Okay, that's what I missed. In the params object, I want to pick up the name there. Okay, so I think it should work now. Hit send. It says success. We did successfully get the data. Completed sublist data. Let's enter a wrong value here, like RAM, and observe. We got another information here, JSON information saying failed because user not found. Okay, I think I have my name as well. So let's say enter. So we did get Manoj's data as right. So this is how you implement a single value, right? So I will just revise this once again and observe it carefully and ask me if you have any doubts in this. Okay, so the first thing that we did here is get the variable or the parameter value. Okay, and the second thing that we did here, I will try to take down this log. Okay, so find the user, okay, from the user data object, okay, that we have already read. This user data, we have already read and stored it here, right? So it's being helpful all the time. Okay, so the third step that we did is validation, right? We validated, like validate if we found any user, right? And the third step that we did, if this is not third step, I think this is 2.1. So send like failed response if user not found. Okay, otherwise this is 2.2. Send success response. Okay, okay. The thing is, it is important that you mention return here. If you don't hit return, okay, if you simply send if this user is not found, I'm sending response and another response. Okay, so observe what happens here. So I'm going to send like Manoj Ravi. Okay, so if I hit now, okay, so user not found, but observe in the terminal that we have an error. Okay, so and what is this saying? This error? It actually is saying cannot set headers after they are sent to the client. Okay, so the thing is, we have sent a response here, but we didn't end the function, this function, right? So what is it saying? It's trying to send another response after sending this response. So I want to make sure that per request, only one response. Okay, you cannot send two responses for one request. Okay, I want you to note down this as well, because many beginners do get stuck with this mistake. They will be having two responses for one route handler and they will always be fighting with that. And the error, it clearly says you cannot set headers after they are sent to the client. So this is basically setting headers, like we are trying to set status, trying to set JSON, all this are, we are trying to set some kind of headers to the response. But response is already sent to the client. I cannot set it again. Clear? Okay, so if this is clear, I will just move on. And in order to avoid that, we have to end whenever whenever it's failed, we are sending a failed response and we are ending the route handler function right away. Okay, okay, so that's it. So let's move on to the updating one. Do you guys have any doubts in this? Like to get oh, maybe I did some mistake here. No, it's fine. I think, yeah. Okay, so let me just watch here if it is still working. Yes, it's working. Everything is clear up to now? Any doubts? All right. Srivatsa, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me move on to updating the user. So Shweta, can you guess the HTTP method? Which method do I need to use now? So app dot, in order to handle an update request, what should I do? I should start with the, what type of method? Simply update method. Okay. And again, when we say update, we might have to update a particular user data and not every single data. That will not be the case, right? So in order to do that, again, it will be same users slash colon. We will update based on the name of it, right? And we are going to have, this is the parameter again, same as getting single user data, right? So here request response. And then what are we going to do? We need to find this user first and update whatever we want, right? So the updating data will usually come from the request.body. Okay, so I'll just mention it here. So updating values will be present in the request.body. Okay, so but if you want to access the request.body, you should be running this middleware called as app.use. Okay, this middleware should be running. You cannot miss this. I need to cut this here. I think. Okay, so let's roll down a bit. And this is the update, sorry. Okay, so now the first we need to access two things. One is the request.body and another one is the name. So I will try to get the name first that is present in the request.params. Okay, so next thing is I need to get the values as well. So const request dot, sorry, const changes equals to request.body, right? Now I need to find the user. So it's the same code again. So we will try to convert the JSON value into object, and then we will find that user. And the first thing is the validation, right? We will validate the user. So how do we do it? If there is no user found, we will simply return by saying a simple response with the status of 404. We wanted to update, but we didn't find that user, right? With the JSON fail and user not found, right? So if no user is found, we are going to simply return by saying sending a response with the 404 with the status of fail and the message of user not found. If we say that we did find the user, what do we do then? First, we need to update the user. And how do we update it? there are many ways how you can update. Okay, so I'm simply going to override. Okay, so updated, like I can say const updated. Oh, updated user equals to all the value from the user plus all the changes. Okay, so I want you guys to know this thing. Okay, so maybe this is a bit complicated one. Maybe the previous Codium one was better. So we'll simply assign, that is, okay, sorry. Yes, I think this is better. Yes. So we can directly change the value of the user straight away. Okay. Okay, I think this is better, but we might have to rewrite the values again. That is the case here. Sorry. The problem that I'm facing here is, of course, I will update a value, but the thing is, we have to rewrite it to the entire value here. We have to remove that entire object and update a new value. Okay. 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 So we have a new user here. With the user that we have, we replaced all the things with the changes. Okay, this is how it works. I'm sure you already know object.assign. Okay, so if you don't know, you can read its syntax. Just the thing is object and other object here, which needs to assign all the values. If there are repeated values, it will simply override them. Okay, so that's what it does. Okay, so now the thing is, we need to delete this old user and then add this new user, right? That's what we want to do here. So how do we do it? Okay, I think we want to we will simply write it now. Okay, we will simply add a new user. That's it. Okay, we will add a new user to it. Okay, so let's not worry because actually we will store data in the database ultimately. This is a file system one. That's why we are facing this issue. But once you have a database, it will automatically update in one field itself and we don't have to write the entire file again and again. Okay, okay, so we are simply writing by mentioning the path and what are we trying to write, the user data that we are trying to write again. Okay, but the thing is, we will not try to write anything. Okay, maybe let's just send the updated data as a response. Okay, so res dot status 200. That's it. Okay, we will not try to persist the updated value for now. This is just for now. Okay, just for now. So let's just save it and send a new request here. Okay, so 127.0.0.1 colon 3000 slash users slash, I will mention Manoj. Okay, so this is the parameter. Now in the body, we have to mention what do we need to change. Okay, so I'm going to change the age is 50 here, right? So I'm going to change it to age of some 80. Okay, and I'm also going to change the, I think, country. Let's make it to Germany. Okay, I think this is fine. So now let's hit send. We have an error, I think. Did I do anything mistake?
Method change the method to post. Sorry, put.
Oh, yes, correct. Thank you. So the method should be post here. Okay, let's just hit send now. I think even still we have a error. Okay, so app dot up. Oh, correct. Sorry. It's update is actually not a method. It's not even post. It's patch. Okay, update for update. It's not update. Sorry, the method should be patch. Okay, sorry, that was my mistake. It's a patch method. Okay, you can also use put method, but patch is the one. Okay, patch method. Okay, so in auto update, we will use patch method. So now hit send. So successfully we have Manoj, and age has been changed to 80, country has been changed to German, right? But this is not persisted here. Okay, so in order to persist that, first we would have to remove the Manoj value, and it's a lot of JavaScript that I don't want to do right now. Okay, so we'd have to remove this and add the new value to the data, and then rewrite the entire file. That's what we would have to do. Okay, but if you have the database, we will discuss about database, and then it all becomes so much easier. Okay. Okay, so any doubts till here? You can ask me any doubts you have. No doubts? Shall I move on? So I will leave the delete for you guys. Okay, so I want you guys to do the delete part yourself. Okay, so again, for delete, it will be user slash a particular name that you want to delete. Okay. Okay, so now the thing is, this is a successful CRUD operation API. So what I want to do is I want you guys to create an entirely new API yourself and show it to me tomorrow. Okay. So for example, let's say you have a different company. Everybody needs to imagine that they all have their own company, and you might have some resources. Somebody might have a shoe company, somebody might have a car company, somebody might have uh, some kind of product company, right? And there you want to work with that particular resource. Just take one resource, and for that resource, I want you guys to have this kind of routes defined, an API defined to access all the information, not just to access, to modify that resource, to update that resource, to create a new resource, all those things. Okay, so now I will just discuss quickly, and I want you guys to do it. Okay, so if you're not doing the homework, then please don't ask me any doubts. Okay, I will keep moving on. And if you don't ask me doubts, it's definitely that you are not working on. Okay, I'm pretty sure if you're a Node.js beginner, if you're starting out with the backend initially, you will definitely have lots of doubt, because I had a lot of doubts. Okay, so I'm sure you will have lots of doubts if you start practicing, if you start coding. Okay, so I will move on, and I want you guys to know about the Git, right? I already told you. So there was only Sharmila who didn't know about the Git, right? So Shamila, have you studied anything about the node? Sorry, not node. Did you come practice by practicing the Git?
No, sir. I have
Okay.
only a little idea. I'm got to know what it is, but I didn't get a chance to practice or anything.
Okay. So I want you to look up the installation part yourself. Okay,
Okay.
Git installation. And if you guys don't know Git, I'll just go through it quickly and how to upload this to GitHub and everything. And you guys can revise it quickly. Okay. So now it's all about Git and GitHub. Okay. So there are two tools that you need to be aware of if you're any kind of developer. Okay, so Git and GitHub, they are open source, and you can use it anytime for free. Git is basically a VCS. Okay, I'll write down a Git query here. Okay, so Git is basically a VCS, meaning version control system, and GitHub is a cloud store Git repositories. Okay, so that's it. So a Git is a version control system. Basically, it will keep track of your workflow. Okay, so by taking snapshots, okay, so that's what it does. That's all that you need to know. A Git is basically a version control system. That's what we call it. And what it does is it will keep track of your workflow. Okay, and how does it do? By taking snapshots of your workflow. Every time you feel that you have done work in a significant way, significant work has done, you will take a snapshot and keep it as a copy. Like let's say you are working with with a long project and you want to experiment a lot in between. What do? So you work on something, and if you want to experiment, you will make a copy of it and then work with the copy. You will not try to modify the original one because you are scared that something might happen to it, right? The same way you will always make copy, and which is a very bad thing, right? So that's what Git solves that problem. Like it will make your workflow easy. It will keep track of all your workflow, and you can do time travel as well. Okay, so we can time travel here. So I will definitely let you know what time travel is. Okay. Okay. And once you do all those things, you can store all this Git repositories. I will definitely tell you what repository is. Those workflow repositories can be stored in the cloud in the GitHub. That is GitHub. You can save it there. Okay. So what is the use of it? It will make collaboration easy. Okay. If you're working, or if people are working, multiple people are working for a single project and people are trying out a lot of things, and everybody wants to have the code base, GitHub will host the code. And while working with the code, you can pull all the code from um, your coworker, and then you can upload your work as well to the GitHub. That's what we do. So basically, GitHub is used for the collaboration and to host your code, and Git is used to track your workflow. Okay, I hope this is clear. So now, once you have installed Git, okay, so I'm just going to teach you three things. Okay, observe here. User API is the our application that I want to host it in the GitHub. Okay, so in order to do that, first you need to have a GitHub account. I hope everybody has GitHub account. And if you have a GitHub account, this is how it looks. All right, your projects will be listed down here, and I want to have a new repository. Okay, so you can click on new here. Okay, mention the repository name, and this is user API. That's what I'm trying to build, right? So now you can make it either private or public. Anybody who visits your profile, GitHub profile, will be able to watch your code if it is set to public, or you can make it to private as well. Okay, I'm going to keep it private, and this is just a random dummy one. I don't want to show it to anybody. And just click on create repository. Okay, so now it gives you how to push your code from your VS Code to the GitHub. Okay, so the first thing is your project should be Git initiated. So come back here. It gives you, it already tells you step by step. Okay, so the first command that you need to do here is git init. Okay, but before doing this, make sure that it's not a Git repository already. Okay, so you can just write git status. This is the command to check whether your project is already Git tracked. Okay, so hit enter. If it says it's not a Git repository, then you can say git init. Okay, but the thing is, I want to go with the user API, right? So cd user API, and now I will check git status. Okay, so I want you guys to write down some git commands here. So git status, let's check if a folder has git repository. Okay, a repository is nothing but a folder that stores your workflow. That's it. Okay, a repository is nothing but a folder which stores your workflow. And where is this folder? Right? It's hidden usually. Okay, if you hit status right now, it's not a Git repository. You can make it Git repository by just simply saying Git in it. Okay, initialized a empty Git repository. Right now, it's not tracking anything. Observe here in user API, all these things have U. All these files have a U letter, meaning all these files are not tracked. ಇಲ್ಲ ಏನೇನ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೀವಿ, they are not being tracked yet. That's what it's saying. Okay. Okay. So let's not worry about that too much. Before taking a snapshot, you have to track them and then take a snapshot. That's what we do. Okay. So come back here. The second thing that we need to do is you can add a README. This is optional. You don't have to add this all the time. For now, I will avoid this. Okay. So I want to make a first commit. Okay. So for that, you can simply copy this, git commit, and paste it here. Okay, but if there are untracked files, you have to track them. Sorry. Okay, so in order to track, you have to say git add and dot. Okay, I will write down here in the theory. Okay, we will practice this every day, so you will understand what they are. Okay, so start tracking by adding them to the staging area. Okay, so git add dot basically means it will add all the untracked files or modified files. Start tracking by adding them to the staging area. Them meaning adding modified and untracked files. Okay, so git add dot basically adds every single untracked or modified files to a place called a staging area. Okay, a staging area is nothing but a simple place. Before taking a snapshot, you will add them to the staging area and then take a snapshot. Let's say you have 10 people and you want to take pictures of just 3 people or 2 people. What do? You call them all out and take a snap picture of them, right? You won't just start taking picture right away, right? That's what we are doing. If you have lots of files, sometimes you just want to take a snapshot of some files. So that's when you go with this staging area. Staging area is something like that. Okay, so I'll add them all to the staging area. So you hit enter. Okay, it adds every single thing. Oh, that's a mistake. Sorry. Usually you should not add node modules folder, but for now it has added that as well. Okay, for now it's fine. For a small project, it's fine. Okay, we should not add this. Okay, so finally, once you added this, we will try to add our commit. A commit is nothing but the snapshot. Git commit, and while taking a snapshot, you will try to leave a message saying user API program first draft. Okay, and hit enter. It committed it. Okay, so it took a snapshot, and once the snapshot is done, it will all be clear. There won't be any messages here. Okay, so finally, once you have the commit, okay, so there is a concept called as branch that we will discuss again and again later on. So right now, if you just say git branch, okay, it will say that you are in the master branch. Okay, but the branch that you need to be when uploading it to the GitHub is the main branch. Okay, we are trying to rename it to main branch. That's all we are doing here. Okay, git branch -m changes the name of the branch to main. Okay, so finally, we want to have a remote. Okay, this is basically remote. Like every time you want to interact with this GitHub repository, meaning interact basically means that we will try to upload our code to the GitHub and then pull down the code from the GitHub. So for those two operations, you need this remote. Okay, and that remote name is usually origin. Okay, you can rename this to anything. Git remote. I'm trying to add a new remote with the name of origin, and that remote connects us to this GitHub repository. That is what it means. Okay, so I'm just copying this, okay, and pasting it here. Okay, I think I didn't copy it properly. Okay, and hit enter. So now we have a remote, and we have the code snapshot. We have a successful Git repository, so we can push it to the GitHub repository. Just copy this and paste it. Okay, so that's it. It successfully pushes the code to the particular GitHub repository. And here we can simply refresh. We should be having this. Our entire code is pushed here. Clear? I'm definitely aware that many of the people who don't know Git and GitHub properly, they will struggle. But I want you guys to go through it from YouTube, or I will definitely take an entirely new class separately for this. Okay, so from now onwards, every day, what I'm going to do is after the class, I'm going to push this code to the GitHub repository. Okay, so that it will be saved, and every time I do make changes and everything, I will take a snapshot as well. And this is how every developer does. Every day they will work, they will save their changes, they will save their workflow, and they will push their code to the GitHub so that they're safe, and you don't have to save them all in your uh, local machine as well. And you can share your code. Like let's say you want someone else to work with your code. You can simply share this link and they can clone it to their computer directly into the VS Code. Okay. So that's it for today. And any doubts you have? And I want Shamila to look up some more Git things from the YouTube. It's not that difficult. Okay, it's very easy. You can look it up yourself.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. So anyone else? Any other doubts you have? And I strongly recommend that you make contribution to GitHub every single day. Okay, because if you go to your profile here, my profile is very bad. I use a different one. Okay, so here it will always show how much you have worked. Okay, so if you have contributed anything, it will show some dots here. Okay, let me just pull this down here. Okay, in the month of July, I have only one contribution. Okay, so how many contributions you have made, how much you have worked, this dashboard will give away everything. Okay, in the month of this many contributions you have made, this many contributions you have not made, everything is tracked here. Okay, so this profile will help you in your interviews as well. If you show your GitHub repository, if you add your GitHub repository's profile in your resume, it will be very significant factor for the interviewers as well. Okay, so start contributing to your GitHub repository. So it will show that you have constantly worked from years or from months and months. Okay, start today. In 1 year or 2 year, your portfolio will be looking strong. So people will believe that you have worked. Okay. Okay. So see you guys tomorrow then. And please do the homeworks as well. We have not covered anything big today. We have only covered pretty small things. The new things that we have learned today is how to handle a particular data with the parameter help, right? You can get it, you can update it, and the homework is you guys need to delete it. Okay. Okay. So see you guys tomorrow then. Thank you. Have a good night.